about to start
We're
this
heading
game.
in right now to this first match.
Oh, here we go. The gates are going to be opening up. We do see we're going to be following Fuzionn out here, playing that disc priest. He's going to be out there with Tony and Joru, and they're going to be going up against Rynd, Biel, and Zeshi. And so far Fuzionn, he was getting purged down, already rebuffing. He has that Fear Ward up on himself, just trying to keep as many buffs up as possible, really spreading the renews around. And both teams just kind of looking for that advantageous early start. We have Rynd in the background, hotting everyone up, and he has stacked up that mushroom pretty heavily as well.
Yeah, it seems this is kind of weird to see BRCleave not just running in and using all their timers. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so we do see Joru going to be charging on in. They're going to be going on to Biel, feign death right there. The silencing shot comes in onto Rynd. Rynd is going to be able to get those hots up onto him. We do see the Hex, though, coming out onto Rynd. He's going to decide to sit through this. Biel going to be taking some damage here. Those hots not really getting dispelled off too much just yet, and Joru taking a lot of damage himself. The scatter shot coming out onto Fuzionn. That trap's going to land full, and Joru could be in a little bit of trouble here. Biel, sitting very healthy right now. And when you see the swap over on a Tonystyle down at half HP already. Rynd pops the Heart of the Wild offensively. Tonystyle needs to deter here. He's going to pop his first one. Fuzionn into the clone. He's going to sit through it, but is this the right choice?
Yeah, there was now look at the CC chain. Now we have the silencing shot onto Fuzionn. Tony taking so much damage. Second deter already. This is not looking good for this team.
Yeah, definitely not, but Fuzionn did hold his PvP trinket. Tonystyle with his still available as well, but the Guardian Angel did come out there, so they have used that. Really all they have left is life swap and the trinket and everything from Fuzionn. And Rynd, his Heart of the Wild used very aggressively there early on. The Hex going to come out on Joru. That's going to be trinketed actually. Fuzionn put into a scatter shot, silencing shot coming off that. Do they have a web trap or anything for him? Doesn't look like it just yet. So Tonystyle back behind the pillar here, has got back up with the Fuzionn, and he's going to be top back off. So Heart of the Wild now has expired here for Rynd, and this is the time that Fuzionn, Tonystyle, and Joru need to get something going, but Tonystyle is the one taking most of the damage here, already down to 190k HP, 150k. He's going to get life gripped out, but there's the Wyvern thing on a Fuzionn. I think he needs to trigger this. He needs to he needs to do something. He's not going to do it, but the life swap isn't going to come in 400 HP. It's not going to come in time.
Wow.
And Fuzionn getting way too greedy there, holding the will and the trinket.
Yeah.
And ends the game with both up, and life swap was never used.
Yeah, that was rough. I mean, you look and he has cooldowns on both, but look at this, trying to get the resurrection off, but
that's the classic Fuzionn move. He does that every game. He always tries to go for the res, but
I thought Jalapeno Hotties, they could have turned it around right at the end, right there.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a pretty close game, but it just seemed like they never really got a chance to go offensive here, and I respect the fact that Fuzionn was trying to hold that trinket and hold that will so long, but I just think it was at the cost of their pressure. And I feel like as that priest, you have to be the team that's on the offensive. You have to be the one dictating the pace. Trying to really play aggressive because you have the offensive dispels, you have those fears, you have the Scythian, and we never saw him have a chance to do anything. He was always trying to catch back up. He never got a chance to chase in for Rynd and go for a fear. He never got a chance to really spam with those dispels or anything. So I feel like he has to be a little bit more liberal with his cooldowns, keep his team offensive, and try to get them on the back foot.
Yeah, Joru did do a lot of damage during that match. He was the #1 damage out of anyone with a little over 2.4 million. Tony solo because he was trained the entire time. It was amazing. His highest damage dealt on the scoreboard was 48,000, which for a hunter, it's extremely low.
Yeah, it's probably like a non-crit Chimera shot or something like that. So nothing too crazy, but really just obviously couldn't get anything going that game, unfortunately for them. And this is one of the things we talk about with kind of like LAN jitters is even more extreme, but just tournament jitters in general, because it is a lot more pressure. People don't want to make mistakes, and sometimes they worry, not just about not using cooldowns, but they worry about wasting them and stuff. So I think this is one of those cases where Fuzionn, really just maybe kind of underestimated the damage a little bit, maybe had a little bit of jitters. He has to work through things like that. Just sitting that Wyvern thing at the end was definitely the wrong choice, and he's going to know that. He's going to be able to tell his team, that's my bad, guys. Don't worry about it. And they just have to keep confident and go back into it, because this is a best of 3, and there is no second chance here. So one more game and that's it.
Yeah, and that Wyvern sting, I think that was a full duration Wyvern sting right there that he sat, and you can see the status of Will of the Forsaken and the PvP trinket on the UI, and it just sat there. It was maybe he thought that because all their offensive cooldowns were down at that point, that he probably should have been fine sitting around 30%, but Just took a couple big hits at the end.
I mean, the amount of burst coming out from that team at any time is so big that you have to be very, very careful. I mean, an elemental blast coming out from the enhancement shaman is absolutely massive. Chimera shot crits and everything are so big, especially with that season 15 gear. And this could be something that we talked about earlier. Not being completely adjusted to the amount of damage coming out with this new set of gear, because this is not something that they've practiced in. Even if you have the utmost gear possible on live, you're still 15, 20 eye levels down what you would be in this tournament. So maybe he, like you said, thought he would be okay to sit through that Wyvern Sting with him sitting around 30-40% HP, but obviously wasn't, and that could just be an adjustment that he has to make. Has to realize, okay, I have to get those cooldowns out a little bit earlier. I mean, he was playing Holy. What do you think about that? Do you think that Holy is really the right choice here? To me, it's like the light wheel is so easy to kill for a hunter that it doesn't really seem like it's going to be super effective. But at the same time, I understand that he doesn't really want to have to cast a lot, so it's like having Serenity heals is nice. So there is the trade-off. But do you think there's any kind of worth to thinking about going disc?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Discipline would be that great against this comp. So many dispels out there. If it negates a lot of the cooldowns, because pain suppression is nice.
Yeah.
But I mean, Guardian actually did a great job in that last match.
Yeah.
Once that initial huge burst onto Tony happened, and he had to use both of his deterrents, that Guardian right after, he was able to pump those larger heals into him, and he was able to survive a little while longer. I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, not very many people play Discipline right now because they have to cast.
Yeah.
It looks like we are heading into round 2 right now.
So the map is going to be Dalaran Sewers, and I believe this is going to be the map choice there for Fuzion's team. And it's a very fast-paced map. There's not a lot of room to work with. The teams start very close to each other, and we could see that playstyle kind of benefiting Fuzion's team, like we talked about. They have to be the ones that are kind of getting a bit more aggressive. The priest advantage really is that aggressive CC, using the side team, getting those psychic streams out, hitting multiple people, things like that. And if he's not getting them out early and often, Zeshi is just going to be able to tremor pretty much every single one. So he's going to really have to work on that, or he's going to have to do a better job with his team of playing defensive. So we'll see what the adaptation here is going to be from Fuzionn, Tony, and Joru. If they're going to try to go really aggressive, or if they're going to be kind of trying to turtle it out behind the boxes.
Yeah, and right out from the start, of course, you do see Fear Word on Fuzionn tossing as many buffs as he can on himself, because he knows he's going to get purged really super quickly.
Yeah, and we do see Joru the target, Biel the target once again here as well. We do see Rynd, stealthing around, going to come out now. That Trinket proc already up for all 3 members here of BRCleave, and they're going to be doing a lot of damage here early on to Joru. We do see that Zeshi pulling back. He's going to get trapped, it looks like. Yeah, there's the trap coming out. He's going to Trinket that. We do see Heart pop by Rynd. A lot of damage coming into Biel. Tony taking some damage here as well. The scatter comes out on the Fusion. Is the trap going to be able to land? Doesn't look like it just yet, but the Wyvern coming off that. He's going to sit through it. Now Ascendance has been popped here onto Tony. Tony maybe has to deter early. He's holding it pretty late. Is this the right choice? The deter has to come out now. Fuzionn was able to sit through that, and we are going to see this Ascendance expiring off here on Zeshi pretty soon.
That's good.
One more zap comes out.
It's good that they survived through that Ascendance right there. This is what the team needs to do to stay in this game, especially with Heart not being used that offensive right now. As you see, Rynd had to pull way back and help him.
Just wasted that deter there. I think that must have been a mispress or something, or maybe trying to pre-deter a scatter or a silence. But anyway, he's going to get scattered off that. Tony not able to land ACC off that, but we do see the nice Hex coming in. Are they going to be able to force a Trinket or anything? Because so far, Biel just sitting comfortably at basically full HP. Maybe not enough offensive dispels coming out here just yet, but Biel is taking a little bit of pressure. We can see though that Fuzionn, Tony, and Joru made a good adaptation, and they were able to sit through a lot of the early CC, and they're in a much better position in this game. And Biel now dipping down to about half HP. The Trank comes out. He did dip down to about 100k HP there briefly, but he's going to catch a big heal, able to be top back off.
Yeah, and I mean, it was gigantic. There goes the mushroom right there. Oh no, it was replaced as a we are going to see that Billboard is okay right now. You see him pulling back and trying to get to his target. Tony down to half. That's taken a lot of damage with the Wyvern on diffusion, followed by that silencing shot right after.
Yeah, and Tony down to 120k HP, 110k HP. Another Hex comes out there onto Rynd. Tony going to have to get top back off here. We did see that Guardian Angel coming out there. The wings coming out from Fuzionn. Going to be able to keep him up for now. The scatter coming in onto Fuzionn. The trap going to come out. Tony's going to pop that deter. Is he going to be able to eat the trap? It looks like he did immune that with the deter. Nicely played by him. The Fusion still falling so far behind, and Tony down to 120k, does catch that big Serenity heal. Zeshi, though, taking a little bit of damage himself, is getting hotted back up here by Rynd, who still has his trinket, still has his meld available. Is kind of a little bit down on mana. Fusion and him both struggling a little bit on mana right now, but Tony is really the one under the most pressure right now, and they have to be able to kind of slow it down, get him top back off, and get something going here. The NS clone comes in offensively onto Fusion, though, and Tony could be in some trouble.
Yeah, he really is. Fusion sitting that entire clone, followed by a scatter. Let's see if there's any follow-up crowd control. Tony eats the trap. That was great right there. Followed by a Hex and a Wyvern on top of it. Tons of CC out on Fusion. Fusion really needs to pump out those big heals onto Tony as they both are running behind the pillar, but nothing out of Fusion right there. The feint, and there we go. Now the swap comes out. So Fusion is now could be in trouble, but he did end up picking up the Shadow Sight to take a little bit extra damage. Tony still being the target of choice. They didn't choose to capitalize on Fusion with low health.
Yeah, and I mean, Rynd, has used his PvP trinket there. They just haven't been able to get that much CC on him, though. Haven't seen a Fear land on him just yet, and we do see Fusion into the scatter. The grounding does get dropped there by Joru, and it's going to immune that trap. Nicely played by him, but Tony in so much trouble. The Bouncing Shot does come out. We are seeing, Tony sitting pretty low here, and Ascendance is going to be popped here, it looks like, and Zeshi taking a lot of damage from that. He's down to 300k HP. Rynd starting to struggle here on mana. The Wyvern Thing comes in on Fusion. He's going to Will of Forsaken on that one. First trinket or Will of the series used by him there. Zeshi doing a lot of damage himself back onto Tony. The full clone in onto Fusion. His trinket is on cooldown, that shared cooldown with the Will. We do see trinket coming out of Joru there as well. Silencing Shot onto Fusion. Silencing Shot across the way onto Rynd as well. Rynd down to 50k mana. Fusion sitting at 150k, and it's looking like Fusion, Tony, and Joru slowly kind of grinding themselves into the lead here. Can they keep it up? The full trap going to land onto Rynd. It looks like he walked into an old trap there. He's going to be stuck in that full, and this could be trouble for his team. We'll see if they can get anything going. Tony able to eat that trap nicely there for Fusion. We do see that there was the Fear trying to come in. It's not going to be able to. Rynd going to be put into another trap. Yes, it was in fact an old trap that he walked into. He's going to get BR trapped off of that. Really well played by Tony, but still, Biel Boy is looking pretty healthy, and Fusion, just trying to do his very best to keep Tony offensive here. He has popped him back off, but Biel Boy back to full HP as well. Rynd down to 40k mana.
Yeah, Biel Boy didn't dip below really like 50% that entire time, but Rynd's mana is sitting dangerously low at this point as he does get chastised right out of there, followed by Fear and a scatter on top of it. That Fear did hit most people, with Biel Boy having to trinket right there. Tony taking a lot of damage though right now. Fusion trying to play the LOS game, getting Tony to dodge back in, but not able to LOS that Hex as he pushed up. Tony in so much trouble right here, followed by a Cyclone on to Fusion. Fusion has to sit this entire thing with his trinket down.
Yeah, and the LE Blast did come in there onto Tony. We do see that Wings popped again by Fusion. Going to be able to keep him up for now. The Wyvern Thing coming across onto Rynd. They did force Trinket on both Biel Boy and Zeshi with that last Fear Scatter Trap coming in on Rynd there. We do see the trap eaten once again by Tony. Really well played by him so far, keeping his priest out of CC as best as he can. Fusion, though, starting to get low on mana as well here. He's down to 60k, and Rynd has been maintaining pretty low. We do see the Fear coming out. That one's going to be tremored, it looks like. Tony, though, getting chunked down dangerously low, 190k HP on him. The Hex comes out. Joru needs to decurse that. He's not getting it just yet, and it looks like it's sitting full. Has he DC'd? It looks like Joru was actually DC'd on the stairs there. He's just hanging out, but Tony's going to go down, and that's going to be the series. BRCleave is going to take it. An unfortunate turn of events there, as it looks like Joru was DC'd on the stairs, but that's going to be it.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of saves that came out of Fusion, and it's amazing how long he held each of those cooldowns, even though he knows how fast that Tony died in the last game.
Yeah, I mean, they did a great job. They used the boxes very effectively, and they were able to start later in the game getting that CC out. When we saw the effectiveness of the Fears coming out from Fusion, it was definitely a much better game there from them, but I'm not sure exactly what happened. It did look like Joru was offline at the end. He wasn't able to decurse that Hex, and I mean, that's going to cost them. So definitely, a painful way to end that series for them. But to be fair, it looked like Rynd, Biel Boy, and Zeshi were still in control of that game.
Absolutely,
they never were really in any danger. Mm-hmm. And even though Fusion's team was maintaining a lot better, they never were really able to get anything going. Like, let's be honest, no one really got below half HP. There was never
even with that old trap followed by the second trap that they weren't able to eat. I mean, with a double trap on the of course second one DR'd on the Resto Druid, Biel just ran away.